Okay, test, test, test. Hopefully this is working. That's the hope. And it's very unfortunate because I thought this looked okay. And then now when I see it on camera, it just looks like I got punched in the face twice. I was going for this like sparkly alien kind of, I don't know, 80s inspired fun time, and it just looks like I got beat up. Too late to change it. Yay! So that is that for right now. Jennifer Lopez. I don't see it at all, actually. I don't know like Jennifer Lopez very well. Like I don't know if she had any outfits that were just like a turtleneck or this. These are so uneven. It's like you don't notice until you're on camera. Oh, that's a little better. Okay. Usually just when I make it like a barbarian character and give my character these pigtails. Kind of like, oh, in the cell. Oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yep. We've got our fancy mug here. And Chaco is eating something. Eventually Chaco will join us. Yeah. Chaco is Krampus's son. But he is, I don't know, and I'm scared Krampus is gonna be scratching again in here. Oh well. Anyway, good to see you guys. Apparently I'm Marilyn Manson as well. Okay. Well, I mean, at least you guys are talking about like iconic fashion. As opposed to like, oh, you look the homeless person just like hanging out under my staircase. You know? So that's good. All right, so we're gonna do a bit on the Fermi paradox. I don't want it to be as long as last time because that was a while, and this has not been a good migraine time for me. I had one Saturday. It was all day. I took everything. I was just like taking so many medications and supplements like magnesium and stuff, and it just so I took my injection. Didn't even touch it. Oh, it's just no thanks. So just to let you guys know, for a while, I don't know how long, but the weekly live streams are going to have to be a day prior. So this is a day after normal. So normally they're on my Sunday. For a lot of you, it's Saturday or early Sunday morning. So they're going to be on my Saturday, which should be Friday evening for you guys, or early Saturday morning for some of you. So that is that for right now. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Yeah. I did have this makeup made more sense when I had this wig on, but my head was just hurting too much for it. So, all right. Now we ended up stopping here, didn't we? Cool. So we talked about down the rabbit hole. Didn't we just kind of go down? The earth is the fishbowl. All right. So I think we're going to be going on destroy or be destroyed. In Darwin's Theory of Evolution, okay, everybody grab your cups, grab your pearls. I don't know. Let me adjust this. I think it's I'm cutting myself off, or it's cutting me off. We'll move it over here because I have a tendency to move to this side. All right. So let's see if we're gonna. In Darwin's Theory of Evolution, it says that humans came from monkeys. A tenant says the strongest species survives. Oof, we're already, oof. Okay, so you guys know the survival of the fittest does not mean the strongest species. Do we know that? Okay, do we get that? That's the hope. So it is survival of the fittest. Yeah, drinking my last rum. I know, we're already bad. And this makes me sad because this is supposed to be like this idea of like analyzing the idea of like the Fermi paradox, right, in some kind of science-ish way, and boom, right away we just get messed up with the theory of evolution, which is the backbone of a lot of modern science. So, oof, that is an ouch. So just for those of you that are not aware, I will vilify the one of the tenets. It sounds like a cult or something. It says that those individuals that have they're best suited for their environment, those are the ones that last long enough to reproduce. That's all it says. So this idea that the strongest species survives, no, there's not going to be like one species, right? It's not like this like battle royale on Earth. As much as humans are gunning for first place to just obliterate everything else on the planet, including ourselves, that's not what it says. So let's see if this is going to be related to this. A similar tactic may be employed by alien beings. Perhaps they stay silent, hoping that hostile species aren't alerted, or that they strike before the others destroy them first. Which, first of all, kind of gets rid of this concept right away. The strongest species survives. Because if this weak species is surviving by hiding... womp womp. So, anyway... I think, what do you guys think? I'm ready to go to the next one. I think this is trash. I'm ready to go to the next one. Well, I, for one, have lived to reproduce. Well, congratulations for that. I have not. But there are many reasons for that. Can you imagine like, being pregnant with a migraine? No thanks. Well, you were the most successful in your region then, Menno, if that's how you were able to reproduce. So that you are a successful specimen of the human species. Excuse me. I keep breathing everything in. Yesterday I was trying to eat something and it just like I kept breathing it in and it was spicy. Oh, that's always embarrassing. What do you guys think of this? Are you guys just ready to skip to the next one? I feel like this doesn't need discussion, especially since they botched it pretty hard. Who is this? I'm going to talk to your dad. Who is this? Who are we going to yell at? Raghav Hariharan. Okay, Raghav. Is it Raghav or is Raghav? Rajev? I don't know. That one. Okay. How do we contact this person? Oh, can we tweet them? No. Okay. Studying mechatronics combined with computer science. You know what? I have never heard of mechatronics. Is that electronics, but for like the mechas? Like the Japanese like mechs? I have never heard of mechatronics. My goodness. I'm glad you thought that was nice, Menno. I mean, it was meant to be nice, but I think it was just so awkwardly phrased. COVID-19 wants the host to survive as long as possible so that it can spread better. Right, that's one thing. Yusuf, hi Yusuf. We are looking at these ideas that try to explain away this, so this idea about based on just the amount of planets that are similar to our planets that might be in our galaxy and how likely it is for life to arise, which I'm not 100% sure how they had found that calculation. It should seem like the universe is teeming with life, but we haven't found it. So that's sort of that paradox. The universe is supposed to be teeming with life, and yet we haven't found anything. So these are some of the ideas trying to explain why that might be. And right now we're on Destroy or Be Destroyed, which I think we kind of destroyed the argument because they really mutilated not only Darwin's, not only part of the theory of evolution, which is just, I think what they're talking about here is natural selection, but they also defeated their own misrepresentation of it. Whether the misrepresentation was deliberate or not, we can't tell. But that's all we're doing. We're just kind of going through this. And my cat is making noise in the background. Come here. You know how they are. Like there's like a bag The cat will just lay on the bag. Yeah, how exactly would you calculate that right. You know, I mean, how would you calculate that probability? Not really sure. I don't know. I don't know where they came up with that. I think it was maybe, I mean, if I'm going to be very generous about it, it would probably be the amount of, I guess, time plus oxygen, water present, and a certain distance away from their star. So it would be not just life, but life like us, or at least life that could, like, we would recognize as perhaps life. So nothing that's based on, like, drinking liquid methane, for example. But something we would recognize as life. So I think that's how they're just kind of assuming it's a given, I think. I mean, stretching is healthy. Yeah, we have gone for the stretch with this one. So that's it. This is the whole, what's his name again? Raghav has taken us on a yoga adventure with this. Okay. Let's see. Aren't parts of the universe accelerating away from each other faster than the speed of light? I don't know about faster than the speed of light, but I know they are accelerating. Accelerating for sure. Looked at his mathematical models and some of his psychophysical experiments. Okay, it would be impossible for the signals to reach between those parts of the universe. Right. So one of the problems is that there's part of the universe where the light that existed there, it's too far for us to see. And this has to do with, like, the Big Bang. And, you know, forgive me for really oversimplifying it, but basically it's this idea that it's quote unquote faster than the speed of light, but not really. Just with the idea that stuff was here and then it's somewhere else as it expanded. And so the way that I've heard it described is sort of like if you have two dots right next to each other on a balloon that's not inflated, and then you inflate the balloon, the distance between them has suddenly changed, even though those 2 points haven't actually moved. The distance between them has increased. So I'm not 1,000% sure. I don't teach, like, cosmology. You know, we talk about, like, a very general version of the solar system, you know, for what I have to teach. So I don't teach anything like this. But that is my understanding or memory of it too. But that it is accelerating. Yeah. Let's see. Space is expanding faster than the speed of light. I mean, we can just look it up, you know, since we're here. I mean, why try to phrase it a certain way to keep it open, right? Let's see. Is space expanding faster than the speed of light? I'm trying to remember. It's like it is, but it's not, something like that. The expansion doesn't have a speed. Okay, that's what it is. So it is faster than the speed of light, but it's not faster than the speed of light. So the expansion itself exceeds how we could see light. So it appears to be faster than the speed of light, but it's that expansion, I guess, is viewed differently. But I think for all average people trying to approach this, it appears as if it is faster than the speed of light. Maybe that makes a bit more sense. Hopefully. All right. The power of the internet. Exactly. Let's just check it out, right? Okay, I can dig it. Right, we're just having fun. Yusuf. Speed per unit distance is a term I must use, right? It's got to be, like, I'm not slow. My speed per unit distance is equivalent to, I don't know, something like that. It is aliens. So one thing I am trying, and it might be working, it just might be that more people are able to view because of the time, which is most of your guys' Sundays. I wanted to try putting a face on the title card to see if more people clicked on it. So far it seems like we have more people here, so it's pretty cool. The only thing faster than the speed of light is the rate that Lee can type. You know, thank you, because I feel very self-conscious typing in front of you guys. But the like the sound of keys clicking was really like exciting to me when I was a child, so I practiced typing from like that's what I did. Other kids were out having a good time, and I'm just like A, B, C, D, E, and then just like ending up, being able to do that. So that was such a dork. Do you listen to AM Coast to Coast? Do they has it always been Coast to Coast AM? I always thought it was AM Coast to Coast. I listened to it with Art Bell. I haven't heard with George Noory. I only listened to it with Art Bell. I don't know. He was more, I don't know. And again, I haven't heard George Noory, but Art Bell has like that voice for radio. You could just listen to it, and he just, I don't know. He seemed very interested in the topic, which makes you more interested in the topic. I don't know. It's a good time. All right. So I think we're already done with Destroy or Be Destroyed. Sorry, Ragav. I'm sorry. I feel really bad. I keep messing up that guy's name. Space is too vast and signals take too long. Space, simply put, is incredibly large. So large, if we beamed a transmission to the closest star, it would take 4 years to reach the system. Say intelligent life did pick up on one of our signals, it might take years, if not decades, to get a response. Now, something similar to that is this idea that when we've been using radio waves and broadcasting visuals, which like TV, we've only been doing it for not very long. So this idea that we should be getting a response soon, I've heard that some people say, hey, it's just too vast. But again, I mean, I don't know. Shouldn't they be sending signals out too? I don't know, right? They're already here. They're here, right? Except it's not from the TV people. So let's see if you guys have anything to say about this one, though. This space is too vast. I mean, I think that's probably a good. Destroy or Be Destroyed has been nullified. It's been destroyed. That's what it's been. Yeah. I don't know. Unless the rest of you are staying silent. Let's see. I wouldn't say George sucks, but yes, Art Bell was better. That's a no-brainer. George Noory will literally believe anything the guest says. Oh no, I don't like that. I don't. I mean, there's a... Having done these live streams, there is a line, right? You don't want to cross. You do not want to insult the person that's calling in or the person you're interviewing or whatever, right? You don't want to insult them, but at the same time, to just accept everything they're saying whole cloth, I don't think is even it's not just good in general, but it's also not a good representation of like the person who's doing the interview or receiving and commenting on the questions or statements. That person should also be representing the average person. Like, what is the average person likely thinking? What might their question be? How might they want to respond to this? One of the things that I try to do on this channel is when some people are talking about different stuff about like religion, for example, not to just repeat the same things that every person has heard about it, but try to come at it from maybe a different angle, because I think a lot of the viewers have already seen that, but also to nod to it, say, well, the common argument against it is blah, 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 blah. But you also, of course, you want to respect the person that has, they're being honest about their beliefs. They know that they might be mocked, and, you should respect them as a person, not necessarily their beliefs. So I guess he's just trying to be extra nice. I don't know. Again, I haven't heard that. Let's see. Let's go scroll back up. Coast to Coast and the story about Aurora, Texas in 1897. An inhabitant not of this earth was so hard not to Lamau in jail in 2002. I don't know if I have heard that one, so maybe we can talk about that. Sounds reasonable. Space is big, right? The other problem with the Fermi, what's his name? Oh my gosh, the calculation. The guy that made the calculation. It's not Fermi, is it? I'm sorry, my brain is not braining. Anyway, the idea behind life in the universe as we would recognize it, so it's, you know, carbon-based, requires water, liquid water, that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be intelligent life. And even intelligent life, there's a lot of intelligent life on this planet, like a lot of different species that are intelligent. Neanderthal, they were intelligent, for example, too, but intelligent, that is also capable of reaching out and receiving messages as well. So that brings the number down significantly. The idea that there's bacterial life on other planets, cool, but we're never going to communicate with them. So this idea that space is too vast and signals take too long, those would be, not to say that it's really difficult to, that other life is hard to find necessarily, but that other life that also can communicate with us, that's the one that's hard to find. Another idea, and I don't know if they're going to talk about this, excuse me guys, another idea is that there's, what's it called? That some civilizations may have already died. So, you know, we've been here for, 4.5 billion years? And so when we were barely evolving life, right? So 3.5 billion years ago or whatever, some other life within our galaxy may have been flying around doing cool stuff. And then they died out. And then eventually humans evolved. And then eventually humans figured out how to, you know, send signals into space and receive signals out from space. So we might have missed each other. You know what I mean? So that's another thing to talk about this, but we shall see if it's mentioned. Let's see. Does space expanding faster than the speed of light make it impossible for the signals to ever reach them? So again, we're talking about functionally for everyday people, us saying that it's as if it's expanding faster than the speed of light. Not that it actually is. But yes, that would make it, yeah, pretty impossible. That would make it impossible. I need to get into being a podcaster. What would you podcast? Let's see. In addition to a length of time that we've been broadcasting, yeah, exactly. That strength, the signal strength, is not really the best as it gets longer, or the distance, right? There was recently some scientists that said we had a concept of a warp drive that doesn't violate relativity. If you want to share more of that, but are you talking about that whole like fabric of space-time and like creating not a black hole, but like a bend? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a gravity sink almost. And then is that what you're talking about? Space isn't too vast. It's just the speed per distance unit over 6. See, there you go. Good job, Yusuf. You've used it. You are one of my all-time favorites. Good to see you live. Great. I'm glad that you are joining us. That's awesome. So maybe that is working. Maybe I should put my face on this stuff. I'm very proud of you, Yusuf. Yusuf, you get extra credit for today. Good job. For me to believe in ET, I would have to be abducted again. What was that guy's name? I was just watching something on this guy before. The guy that Fire in the Sky was based on. Do you guys remember? Didn't Art Bell get into it with Alex Jones? If so, I'd love to hear those guys argue. Oh my god. Can you imagine? But I've never heard that, but just like in my head, I just Mm-mm. Let's see. Hello, Mulat. How are you doing? What do you think about the Commander Favre sighting? The Drake equation. Thank you. Thank you. That's what it is. Can you guys see my link? Nobody can see links on live chats for any live stream. I can post links as the person who owns the live stream, but nobody else can post links. So you can put them in the Discord. That's totally okay. In the live stream area might be good, the live stream channel. If matter cannot be created or destroyed, then this reality is just one version of the infinite possible universes, right? Yeah, and that's one thing that is interesting is people talk about, when they're talking about the idea of intelligent design or the first cause or something, they always have this idea, they understand that matter can't be created or destroyed, and also that we need a first cause, an uncreated exister. You know what I mean? An uncreated cause, right? Why can't that just be matter? Why does it have to be an intelligent being? And that's the thing I never understood. If they're willing to accept that matter can't be created or destroyed, and so they kind of use that as, oh, humans can't understand it, God had to create matter, but you know what, do you know what I'm saying? If matter can't be created or destroyed, that is the first cause for that, easily fits into the first cause for that. What is it? The Kalam cosmological argument. I don't know all the names of the, like, I know the arguments, but I don't know all the names. I'm sorry. But that's the one that I don't know. Is it the Kalam or the teleological? It's the teleological. It's the teleological type of Kalam's a type of teleological. Oh my goodness, I should know these. I really should. I just know the arguments or the logical process, but not really logical. All right. Let's see. So if life on other planets is always a possibility, or where are the aliens? Asking if there's aliens. Yeah, there's one of those that's in here. Popular mechanics scientists announce physical warp drive is now possible. Oh, okay. I can just Google that. See, those are good. That's good to do. When people are doing, like, I don't know the description I want, but some people are just like, oh, Google this, like, very vague thing. I'm like, I don't know. All right. Scientists announce that it's possible. Seriously. Cool. To understand, let's see. Physical model for a warp drive which flies in the face, which we decided the negative. Oh, exotic negative forces. Okay. Warp drive, faster than light, travel. So we're doing what? Negative energy? Looks like, hey, you guys want to buy a telescope? Because that's what we're checking out now. Is this just a giant telescope ad? It is. Tablecloth and dishes party trick. The spaceship sits atop the tablecloth of space-time and pulls the fabric around it, and the ship is situated in a new place relative to the fabric. Okay, so that's kind of what I was saying, except not the gravity sink. Is it going to make gravity? Is it going to do that? Enormous amount of energy, negative energy, too much energy. NASA's been trying to build it. I'm just trying to find, like, okay, the gist of the model, where the existing paradigm uses negative energy. New concept using floating bubbles of space-time rather than floating ships in space-time. Okay, so if you guys want to read it, it is, I guess more of it is hanging out over there. We can put, like, a link to it. All right. Let's see. We are not alone. Impossible. How could you prove the non-impossible existence of other humanoids? Well, I don't think anybody here is trying to prove the non-impossible existence of other humanoids. I don't think that yep. We're on the same page, my dude. No way for us and aliens to miss each other if time travel is the thing. Yeah, some people have that argument that time travel doesn't exist because we would have found it already, like somebody would have come back or something, but I don't know, what if you could only go forward in time, right? Let's see. Every time I scroll down, it jumps. What's the point of the universe? Or there's a point in the universe that we can never reach, even if we start at the speed of light. The expansion of the universe is logarithmic, not linear. Right. I should definitely podcast. What's the difference between a podcast and like a live stream other than the format? Can somebody help me out with that? Thank you, Travis Walton. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That's the Fire in the Sky guy. You know, I was so scared of that movie as a child. And then I watched it again as an adult, and I was so bored. And it has a really weird ending, I thought. It was just very anticlimactic. Yeah. I heard Art interview with Ramona in the early days. Nice. You're talking about the early, like the first modern alien abduction story. I don't remember her husband's name, but the couple that lost time, and then is that who you're talking about? Just to double check. Well, in the expansion of the universe, it's accelerating, so at some point, nobody will be able to see their neighborhood stars. The sky will just be black. Right. Drake's equation comes from the beginning of UFOs are real, 1979. Oh, it comes at the beginning. I was going to say, I don't think it comes from that. Let's see. If there had to be an intelligent being to create everything, then what created that intelligent being? Right. Kalam, whatever begins to exist will have a cause. Teleological is design. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I keep trying to remember it, and all I can think of is televangelist. And that's not helping me. It's just funny to think that we're the first and last beings that ever exist, and then it's just infinite darkness once the earth goes extinct. Yeah, and I mean, there's no reason to believe that, but then there's also no reason to not believe that either. Just because it's a funky concept, doesn't mean that it's not necessarily there. Negative energy is the force negative or the distance negative. I don't know. I didn't see it really described in there, but just based on the term, I would guess it's a force. Like a pulling force rather than a repelling force. But then that's what I was saying about that gravity sink. Do you know what I'm talking about? Physics of the impossible. No, I haven't read that. Forward time travel is already known. Right. It's with the general theory of relativity. Right. Also, I'm going forward in time at the rate of 1 second per second. Sorry. Let's see. Personally, I think the only way to go backwards in time is to jump to a parallel universe that's identical to your own timeline's past. Oh, that would be interesting. What is the purpose of life? I wonder and ask myself this question all the time. This is not a question that I expected to encounter for this aliens thing, but for my perspective, inherently I don't see a purpose, so I'm gonna just make one for myself and have fun with it. It's sort of like a video game. You know that the video game's gonna end. There's really no point to playing it other than keeping you entertained. And some people try to do the speed run, where like a power gaming, right, where they try to power leveling, where they try to just get all like the main achievements as fast as they can and just do that. And I feel like those are like the CEOs almost, where they just run over everything. Doesn't matter who they hurt along the way. That's just part of achieving that best, like, top score. And then there's people like me, where you just kind of wander around the map and try to get all these weird encounters and strange side quests and stuff. So that's what I try to do. And then eventually the game is over. So play it as you will. I can travel through, rate of 1 second per second. Okay, so we both made that joke. That's great. How do you like that? I made the dad joke without being the dad. Betty and Barney Hill. Okay, then who am I thinking for Ramona? Fire in the Sky screwed me up as a young blood. So chemo, this is automatically hidden. I'm not going to unhide it, but I did read it and kind of clean it up. We do want the language to be appropriate for minors. So if like a school student found this, then it should be appropriate for minors. I asked because the book talks a little about how time travel could work without creating a paradox. I mean, that's assuming, right? Assuming everything that they had, I don't know, hypothesized, came up, fantasized about, would work that way. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that without understanding more fundamentals of it, we can't really say, oh yeah, we could totally do it this way, or it's really feasible to do it this other way. Especially like, well, you know, I mean, who's to say we can't create a time paradox? Like, who's to say there's some there's some I guess that's one thing that always bothered me about time travel movies, was this idea that you can't create a time paradox and you can't do this and it'll rip apart space fabric and, you know, the fabric of space-time and all this whatever. How do we know? What if you totally could just go back in time and meet yourself and now there's two of you existing simultaneously? What if you just what if you just could, right? We don't really know what the rules of time travel are, right? The argument from televangelists is God needs your money. Exactly. I don't know if it's God needs your money. It's I need your money to further the work of God. That's how I always understood the televangelists. So they need your money to go on tours, to make this their full-time job. You know, they're not people that do it for fun and then have a job on the side. It's kind of like the YouTubers that are able to totally fund themselves with like YouTube and Patreon and any other like Etsy shops or something they might have. And so this becomes their job, right? And so they require your money, not to go to some like coming up with ideas or anything. They require your money so that way they can continue to focus on this 100%. So that's my understanding of it. So the idea of like giving money to the church, like when I used to go to church, it was always explained to us, you know, it's not that God needs your money, it's that we need your money to keep the lights on, to keep the heat on, to pay for this, that, and the other thing, to pay the salaries of the people that work here. Some people are volunteers, but other people we have to pay them, like the janitors and the groundskeepers and those people. So, and then any extra money that can go to paying for like kids that wanted to go to basically Bible camp or Jesus camp but couldn't afford it. Well, we have like a store of some of that money, and or like a backup of some of that money, so then we could pay for that, or it's to pay for buses that we need to rent and what have you. So it was always explained to us in a very straightforward kind of way. Let's see. The internet says negative energy can be destroyed by hippie crystals. Oh my god. I heard this, I don't know if it was recent, it had to be within the last year. But it was this clip from the Atheist Experience where somebody had called in to try to explain that crystal, like the smallest particle was really a crystal, and Matt would not have it. He just wouldn't have it. They tried to explain it like a crystal is not a thing in and of itself. It's a structure made of smaller things. So how could you have a structure made of smaller things as the smallest thing? And the person was like, yeah, but what if? And they're like, I don't care about what if. The CEOs were mostly born into wealth. Right. Yeah, of course I'm aware of that. I'm talking the CEOs that started the company, but also the CEOs that are maintaining the power. So even if you were born into wealth, you're still having to maintain that really cutthroat kind of behavior, right? Where you still have to maintain underpaying your employees, for example. That's how I meant it. Sorry if that wasn't clear. Let's see. I'm the kind of player who thinks the game sucks, but I don't want to put it down because I paid too much money for it, right? Let's see. Chemo, no worries. Just letting you know. Something play with me and us should destroy the Matrix. I'm not sure what that means. Something play with me and us, we should destroy the Matrix. There's your money to do the Lord's work, and if that happens to get them a mansion and a private jet, that's just God's will. Yeah, that's prosperity gospel folk. Being in a simulated universe actually was one of the first ones. I don't know. Fishbowl? Somewhere. Anyway, it was there. We talked about that one already. The evangelists are Jesus's patron. Ooh, I like that. My proper will, my free will, but there will always be someone who upsets me and stands in my way. I guess, I think, not to sound like, I don't know, some philosopher or something, but if you're flexible enough, then no one can stand in your way, right? If it's like putting a rock into a stream, the stream just goes around the rock, So as long as you're not so set on going that exact way, you can just go around it. Spent a year volunteering at TVN before Paul and Jan Crouch were anybody. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's go to the next one here. They are already here. Okay. It would be silly to presume that all life is similar to Earth's. Perhaps alien beings are so different they would not register to us, even if they were under our noses. Conversely, they may be so similar they are indistinguishable from humans and can easily avoid detection. We're going reptilian. Now, there is an idea of octopodes being aliens, like they're as if they are alien, which is pretty cool, I think. I keep getting all this hair on my face. What do you guys think of this idea? That the life is already here, and we either don't notice it because it's so similar to us that it just whatever, or that it's so different from us that we don't notice it, like it's a being that exists in another dimension. So even though it exists, just like if I was a 2D thing, I couldn't see a 3D person looking at me, but that person could see me, but I couldn't see them. They could be in a dimension that's set a certain way that we can't view them. So they're existing here on Earth, interacting with the stuff around them, and we would not be able to see them. Does that make sense? That's just an idea. With this concept, they could be rocks, they could be energy, just pure energy. So we just wouldn't even notice that it's life. Not reptilian, but Pleiadian. Oh dear. Let's see. Thanks for the advice. I will take it. I hope so. I hope it helps. Let's see. Does the Earth seem a lot smaller now ever since COVID, or is it just me? In which way? In which way? Hello, fellow humans. Human fellows, right? Human. Parallel universe, sort of. I always thought of a parallel universe being a universe that is separate from, but simultaneous with ours. But I'm talking more like they exist on the same exact Earth that we do. They're just in a different dimension. So we just can't observe them. That's just an idea. That's all. It's not like, yeah. Let's see. My mom sent our last money period to Paul and Jan Crouch back in the day. This is what makes me want time travel to be real, so I can go back in time. Let's see. I think octopodes could be alien. Hang on, I'm getting this thing on my computer that popped up. Yes, much deep dichotomies with them. My parents sponsored Jim and Tammy Faye. Oh my gosh. We went to this, I don't want to derail it too much, but remind me to tell you guys what we did at the Benny Hinn. Like, we went to Benny Hinn's, like, revival, I guess you could call it. And my grandmother was taken up on stage to be, I don't know, a Holy Ghost rolled over. Okay. Let's see. An alien consciousness could exist as a computer program hiding in our computers. Yeah, that's a great idea, for sure. This could be an explanation for the reality glitches people seem to experience. It could, right? It could. especially when you see something out of the corner of your eye, right? Of course, we have other reasons to understand what those phenomenon are, but maybe sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's these extra dimensional beings. Again, this, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that's what this thought or this suggestion is suggesting. That's all. Let's see. The speed in which you go through time is dependent on your speed through space-time. Yep. Let's see. Never got to talk to Paul or Jan. Even then, in a small building, they were not to be talked to unless they spoke to you first. So, Your Majesty. Kind of like the extra dimension idea. Yeah, I hear you. Some people think that about shadow people. I still need to do a video on shadow people. I really like the Douglas Adams concept of the Huluvu, hyper-intelligent shade of the color blue. Yes. Right, and for all we know, that's what it could be. We routinely fool animals with fake models of their species for various reasons. Who are we to say that we're not encountering artificial humans and we're totally clueless about it? Wouldn't that be funny if plastic surgery trends started because we saw a fake person, like a model human, and thought, oh, that's really cool, I want to look like that. And so people started to do that. And so now everybody's kind of blending in. Benny Hinn, yeah, I know. Did she get struck over by the Holy Spirit? Again, I don't want to go too much into it. We'll talk about it in another video. But yeah, it's... Mushrooms are the most revelatory event of my reality. I mean, we all love a good fungus, right? We can stop this by stopping living. I talk for myself. Suicide is the better solution, I guess. Do you know what I'm thinking, though, Mulat? Death is going to happen anyway. Why expedite the inevitable, right? We're here. We didn't ask to be here, but we're here. We may as well see what reality has to offer us. And then we're going to die anyway. So, you know. Why rage quit? That's just kind of how I see it, right? You could also live to spite life, that life sucks so much. I'm going to live just to spite it, you know, like, how dare life try to kill me? I'm going to show it by living, kind of thing. Excuse me. Let's see. Did day programming for TBN in 1975. I think about suicide very often. I work in the funeral industry for the past 40 years. That is very interesting. I would love to see some of your live streams. That would be cool. Shadow people from Yusuf. I blame the demiurge. I think a lot of people blame the demiurge. Hard for me to believe that they are made of silicon rather than carbon. I think in some cases silicone rather than silicon. Let's see. Sort of what I think of shadow folks. Gotcha. Spite, bitterness in action, right? I like the idea of like the absurdism thing, you know, this idea that we're trying so hard to live in a universe that's trying to kill us, and that's just funny. I don't know, I like that. I like being able to laugh at this stuff. What do we say to the god of death? Please spare me for now. I don't know if that's a reference to something. I've had a few walkthroughs, the deceased walking through me, but that's for another. See, this is interesting stuff. You should have your own podcast. Can I have you to like interview? That would be fun, I think. How dare life try to kill me? Doesn't it know only I make me die? Exactly, right? Exactly. I die when I say I die. All right, so we're going to go to they live in unlikely places. We don't know where to look. So this is the idea that we're looking at planets like ours. So the Drake equation is based on planets like ours. What if like all of these other intelligent species now live on planets that are totally different? That's all. That's all. What do you guys think about that? I don't know about that, because if we're an intelligent species that evolved on a rocky planet, why does that mean that most other intelligent species should be on gaseous planets or asteroids or in a supermassive black hole? That's what it said here. You know, why would that be? Let's see. Today's no good for me. How about the Tuesday after next? We'll die anyway and reincarnate to dirt, grass, and kitties, so why take away from your own life? Game of Thrones, the answer is not today. Oh, interesting. So, Wakanda. What kind of answer was that? Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I don't know what God is cursing me for that bad joke. So what are your thoughts about they live in unlikely places and we don't know where to look? That for some reason, us focusing on these similar planets to find similar life, we just got the wrong idea. Oh, thank you very much. Is it Beteth? I'm very glad to hear that. Also, again, some people were talking about the podcast thing. Should I do the podcast thing? Like, what would that involve? Would I have to talk closer to the mic? I always feel like that. They live in a UFO. They won't be identified. Wow. How do I delete a person? They live in unlikely places. The Queen. I've always been fascinated. Bitcoin. Oh, okay. I got you. I've always been fascinated by the concept of stellar beings. Yeah. I mean, well, in Book of Enoch, that's got some pretty stellar beings. Literally just stars being tortured. That's pretty funky. If they live in unlikely places, that means we're weird in some way. Right. Why do we even happen to develop? Right. That's basically what I'm saying. I think you summed it up better than I did, Dustin. What's so fascinating about the idea of intelligent life, it might be very different from us and live in wildly different environments, is how counterintuitive it feels. Right. There was, I mean, we take it for granted that we are the intelligent life on Earth. What if we're not? Right? What if some other animal is more intelligent and it knows better than to destroy its environment? That's why it doesn't invent anything. Oh, if we make this thing, we're going to clutter it up and we don't want to ruin a good thing that we have. Something like that, right? What if they understand the environment in a different way? You know, who's to say that we are the most intelligent? We're doing a lot of dumb stuff. You know. So, who's to say? Maybe the other beings that are the intelligent beings on this planet, maybe they're in communication with the aliens and we had no idea. You know, this is, you know, you could just, this is why these kinds of things are so easy. You could literally just make anything up and then put a question mark after it. I feel like instead of Miss Lemon, I should be Miss Fontanican, right? Because you just make it up. You're just like, question mark, sell a book. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's see. So, life is seriously weird. It is. Alien microorganisms living in our atmosphere. Could be, right? I think if they were amongst us that far advanced, they would assume looking like us to study us. They definitely could. Intelligence is relative to its selection pressure and environmental context. Right. Slimes, molds, spores, and fungi are from outer space. Do you guys prefer fungi or fungi? But yeah, there's, I mean, fungi were the first animal life. I know that, I mean, they're closer to animals than they are to plants, you know, and they could have come from somewhere else. I forget the name of them, but they were these really, really tall fungi, like the prehistoric stuff. Pretty cool. Let's see. We may never meet aliens because of the distance. Yeah, that was another one that was mentioned here. I'm reminded more of Douglas Adams quotes and you reread some Hitchhiker's Guide. Nice. Yes, you should. A famous book about that subject reads. Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. I put the two together. Let's see, are you forgetting the song We'd Make Great Pets? I have not heard that song. What if panpsychism is true and consciousness is fundamental to the universe and aliens have found a way to access the greater consciousness? I mean, it could be, you know. I think everybody thinks about this stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? Just this. Actually, speaking of them, we make great pets. Consider myself to be a fun guy. I'll see myself out. Oy. Oof. Oof. All right, let's do the YouTubes. And let's do freaky AI predictions. Nope. There we go. Is it? Nope. There we go. Okay. This is fun. I don't know if this is going to get us. How did we do this last time so we don't get murdered by like automatic deplatforming? Do we move it up? Oh, is this going to work? Can you guys hear it? Let's hear if it's too loud.
All he can do is move his head. His brain, a mesh of wires connected to a computer.
Can you guys hear that? Let me know. Okay. It's not like Zoom. Zoom's a little bit easier with this, surprisingly. Even if dolphins were as smart as us, they would never progress in technological civilization because they cannot manipulate their environment and smelt metals because they live in the water. That's true, but why is that the marker? Do you know what I mean? What if they're able to do things we can't? Right? And we're just not paying attention to it. We don't realize they're doing it. Maybe they have some... Again, this is a totally just super hypothetical. But what if they have some kind of ability to use their echolocation in a way that we just haven't detected yet, right? Manipulate stuff that we can't even think of. You know, maybe the reason they don't need weapons because they've used their particular evolution a different way, right? So this idea that they have to create certain things for us to recognize that they're this level of intelligent, I don't know if I would agree with that. Dolphins could bribe monkeys to smelt metals for them. I mean, there's dolphins in the Navy. Let's see. Oh, the rods. I know what you're talking about with the rods, TD. The rods, as far as I know, those are basically, they created them. They took like a camera and they had it at different speeds and at night with light on this bush. And then they shook the bush and there were all these moths in the bush and they started flying out and they had this camera just taking all these pictures and it created a bunch of rods. So it appears that when you're focused on something in a background and then a bug flies across closer to the camera, depending on like the old style cameras, because like a lot of the digital cameras, we don't really get the rods anymore. So these old style cameras, where you're having to like manually focus stuff, if a bug passes through that field of vision, between or like while you're taking it and you're not focused close, you're focused far away, it'll create a rod. That's as far as I understand. I wish I had the name of the thing that did that, like the name of the show, but it was just really interesting because they were presenting it as really really kind of freaky. And then they're like, let's try this thing. And they just shake this bush with all these moths and then, hey, we made rods. It was just so like, okay. It was very like almost a letdown, but just kind of exciting. Sort of like like those ghost footage for security cameras. And it looks like there's a ghost kind of floating through everything, but really it's a bug walking on the lens. But because it's not focused super close, it's focused on, let's say, a restaurant setup. So it's focused on all these tables and chairs that's further away. When that bug is walking across the screen, it's not in focus. It looks kind of see-through. It looks very hazy. It looks a little bit weird. But it turns out it's just a bug walking across the lens, which I think is really cool. I don't know. I'm not disappointed by finding out answers that are not exciting. I think that's still exciting. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let's see. We're talking about DMT. That is always an interesting one to talk about. That reminds me of what the stoned ape hypothesis. Aliens, another thing that people can see when nobody's around, right? Let's see. The rods. Okay, somebody else mentioned those as well. Let's see. We can hear it. Okay, good. So what is reality? We don't know, and that is another topic. But as far as we can understand it, that which I can interact with and responds in a standard way. And then what could that mean? And we'll talk about that a bit later if we can. Let's see. No dolphins in the Marines? No. Because we have to go onto land. That's why. So I guess we could get, like, a tortoise. I don't... Is the tortoise the one to land? The turtle's the one in the water. We'll get a turtle. Okay. Let's see. Real are aliens, okay. Wait, those are debunked. Didn't know that one. Yeah, they were. Isn't that like, it's sad, but it's cool. Like, oh, we got an answer. But that's also why we don't see them anymore, because the type of cameras that we have, just that general focus, you know. Let's see. I was at film school and rods was a thing. We kept switching. It's that frame per second thing. Right. It's yeah. The frame per second. They were doing it at a different, because they had different rates that they were taking the pictures. One was like a faster rate, one was a slower rate, one was a standard rate, and they were able to increase or decrease the amount of rods that were caught based on how fast this was being taken. It was pretty interesting. I've heard of stories of buoyant jellyfish, like beings that inhabit the upper atmosphere of Earth. That's one that I thought was interesting for Jupiter. It was just these like buoyant jellyfish. What is the purpose of all that empty universe and space and all that galaxy if no one is there? Well, number one, we don't assume that it's all empty. But even if it was empty, that is assuming that it was deliberately created to a purpose, right? So to assume an inherent purpose is making an assumption. So we don't want to do that. It could be just empty space. Why couldn't it be? Right? Why would that somehow be detrimental to the existence that is? Right? So if there's all these, you know, rocky planets and gaseous planets and stars and stuff, and there's absolutely nothing else that lives there, so what? Right? Those things, like the Earth does not exist for us to be here. Do you know what I mean? The Earth exists, period. And then we also exist, period. So this idea that the Earth is deliberately created so that humans may be sustained, that is a very giant assumption. The Earth exists, and whether we're here, we're not here, the Earth is going to keep existing. You know, the Earth was fine without us, and it'll be fine after we're gone. You know what I mean? So to assume that all of those distant galaxies and stuff must be inhabited, or they're somehow useless. I mean, they just exist, right? What's wrong with that? They just exist, you know. Be happy for the rocky planet. It's just having a good time being rocky. If you're interested in consciousness and potential scientific basis for panpsychism, you should check out Donald Huffman. A little off topic for the live stream. It is a little off topic for the live stream, but I will put it in to my thing to listen to next. Hang on, because it does sound interesting. Donald Hoffman. Which I'm sure is pronounced Huffman, right? Okay, cool. The rod things. Yeah, it was on the Discovery Channel. I don't remember what it was, though. What was it was the name of the series. I don't remember. There will never be evidence for God. God is something you find within yourself, and everyone has to find their own path out of darkness into the light. Now, again, that's a lot of big assumptions we're making. A lot of big assumptions, right? Especially since it's God singular, God capital G, but then also it's this thing that just, it's within me. So what, it's finding your own purpose? Like, it's such a ill-defined concept, right? Like finding a way to manage depression would be God. Okay, and so why would we call it God, especially since that word has so much baggage? There's no reason to assume any purpose to the universe, right? No one's mentioned dark matter yet. Yeah, that's true. The universe is full of something. It's full of it, is what it's full of. I really believe this was created by a cosmic... I believe this reality was created by a cosmic architect, but I don't think reality has any intrinsic meaning. Yeah, and that's another thing. Even if it was created, that doesn't mean that there is a purpose. You know, it could have... we have... like computer simulations where we can start something and like life in the game can evolve. You know, why couldn't that be it? There's a lot of, whenever people talk about the Big Bang and expansion, I always think of those really old screens that when you turned it on, there was like a point and then the point expands and then the screen is on. That's kind of how I think about it. And I'm not one of those people that says we are in a simulation. I don't know. It doesn't bother me if we are. It doesn't bother me if we're not. But that's just what I think about when people talk about, oh yes, the Big Bang, it's not an explosion, it's an expansion. And I just think of like, that screen opening up. And just think, wouldn't that be really neat if we were just somebody's evolution simulation game that they just forgot to turn off? You know? So somebody could have created it in a way, and then still, inherently, there's no meaning. So it's kind of interesting. The Jupiter jellyfish is yet another instance of misremembering someone telling them a story. Therefore, Ian M. Banks, the algebraist. So for me, the Jupiter jellyfish, it was this, I think it was in a documentary, and it was presented that way, as that there could be something like that. Now, I'm not saying that it's not from the algebraists, like you're saying here. Maybe they got it from that, but I'm saying that's where I got it from. I don't know what you mean by misremembering someone telling them a story. So I never said that the Jupiter jellyfish exist or that they found them or anything like that. But merely that was an idea that I had heard about how life could exist on a gaseous planet. It would be life that could like ride the air vents or the air. The air shafts. What's the word I'm looking for? Anytime there's somebody on YouTube doing like a live stream, do not fault them for forgetting words, please. It happens so often. It's so often. Dark matter matters, exactly. Be happy for the rocky planet. Yeah, it's doing its best. It's, you know, spinning around. It's being the best rocky planet it can be. Rocky planet, you are beautiful even without life, okay? What is it? Hashtag all planets are beautiful. Okay. Hoffman's very interesting. Good. I'll check it out. I like the new look. It's just the look for this. That's all. There's no like new look today. Love the thumbnail. Good. I'm glad. God's baggage. Right. God is emotional baggage. I like the idea of no purpose. It's liberating. You create your own purpose. Yeah, I think it's fun. I'm not a believer. I'm an atheist. The purpose is me. The purpose is every individual other than me. Yeah, you know, and we do well when we cooperate. We're social animals, so we do well when we cooperate. Remember when you said that maybe a magical unicorn farted and that started the universe? Yeah, like as another proposal that doesn't make any sense. Yes, currents. Thank you, Signostic. Thank you. These words. My goodness. Let's see. I think it's cool how you read pretty much every comment. That's awesome. That's also why I can't keep my thoughts straight. Speaking of, let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so this is kind of fun. I will stop it every point that's being made to kind of slow it down and explain it, because I know not everybody here speaks English as a first language.
Hi, Philip. My name is Chad.
Hello, Chad. Let's chat.
I live in Washington, D.C. I have 2 kids.
So, I like kids, cause we can play, and I don't...
As we chat, Philip's synthetic brain starts humming, building a sort of mental model of me. facial recognition software analyzes and tracks my face. As speech recognition software transcribes and sends my words to a database for a reply.
Just calm down.
Before long, we're in deep conversation. Do you agree with Descartes? And I think, therefore I am? Do you think?
A lot of humans ask me if I can make choices or is everything I do and say is programmed.
All right, so that guy that's like making that face in the dark shirt, and if you're not watching this, there's a guy making a face in a dark shirt who's not communicating so far, and he makes like a very surprised looking face. So he's the guy that made Philip, and he was just surprised, like, I can't believe he's saying this stuff. So the question was, do you think? And so he's like, all right, let's answer that question.
The best way I can respond to that is to say that everything, humans, animals, and robots do is programmed to a degree.
So how much of that is coming from what you programmed it to say?
It's a mix. Some of it's coming from knowledge on the web, some of it is written.
And as my technology improves, it is anticipated that I will be able to integrate new words that I hear and learn online and in real time. I may not get everything right, say the wrong thing, and sometimes not know what to say, but every day I make progress. Pretty remarkable, huh?
So what he's basically explaining is that to some degree, everything is programmed. And when we look at the interviewer asking the Phillips creator how much of that was programmed and how much of that was other stuff, that programming we can almost think of as, if we were to apply it to humans, information that we get from our family, information that we get from school. So those are kind of not programming. I don't mean things like brainwashing. I mean stuff like a standard answer to this type of question. And then the creator was also saying, and he's pulling this information from other things other people he spoke with, other things from the internet. And that's how we do it too, right? We learn stuff in school, we talk about it, we get this information from other people, we find other information online from YouTubers, from Reddit, from wherever. And then we put it all together and we can have a conversation with someone. So how different is artificial intelligence from actual intelligence? If it's basically doing the same type of thinking that we're doing, and yet we push it off as this other idea. So it's pretty interesting stuff, but his prediction was pretty fun. Let's see if we can get him.
Wow.
Like when
You're
he
a very
smiles.
good-looking man.
You're starting to overinflate my ego. But don't let me stop you.
Philip's stunning good looks comes from David's
All right, here we go. This is fun.
Ourselves up for disappointment because these robots
Okay,
will
this is what we
disappoint us
don't want.
for human connection.
Okay.
We want to make them in such a way.
We want to like them, she says. Otherwise,
David fears
it's
if we don't
terminated.
humanize robots by bringing them into the human family, we face a frightening future. Think Terminator, a world in which killer robots turn on their creators and set out to
I
destroy
know.
us.
Fun
Hasta la
stuff.
vista, baby.
Do you think robots will take over the world?
Jeez, dude. You all got the big questions cooking today. But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
So that was his answer. Don't worry, even if I evolve into Terminator, I will keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo where I can watch you for old time's sake. So that's very fun. I really like Philip. I really like the idea of really good artificial intelligence. I don't really see a difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. I don't see that. I would have a very hard time turning off like an artificially intelligent being. I would have a very hard time with that. I feel like it's equivalent to us in a lot of ways. Except it's perhaps superior because its body doesn't break down. It's able to access the internet a lot faster than we can to look stuff up. And so it could be more on target. But then again, I guess you could get AI that believes the earth is flat or something too. So it's kind of interesting. Let's see. The android. Yes. It talks about how his looks are based, I think, on Philip K. Dick. So they had this, obviously we don't, having just the no skin, no skin kind of metal face, it's a bit jarring for a lot of people. So the creator had based it, I think it was on Philip K. Dick. The human sounds a little more like a robot than the robot. I know, doesn't he? Doesn't he? He's got an interesting voice. I feel like, I don't know. I think doing videos has made me very aware of enunciation, and also teaching has done that as well. So it's made me really aware of the tone and also how I look, like my facial features when I'm speaking to someone, how much that matters, because my students, little kid students, when I was teaching little kids, they would ask if I was angry, and I'm just like, no, I'm not angry. Why do you think I'm angry? And they would like mimic my face. And, oh my gosh, I felt so bad because I didn't want them to think I'm mad. It's just, this is my thinking face. So for little kids, they see this like furrowed brow and this serious mouth, and so they think, oh my gosh, the teacher's mad at me for asking this question, and really I was just thinking about their question. So that's why I've got these little lines hanging out here. Let's see. Do you think artificial general intelligence could be a real existential threat? I think if we had, let's say, a community of Philip type AI, but they were able to be fully movable, for example, they could move under their own power. Philip can't move. He can move his head a bit, and of course his eyes and his facial movements, but he can't like get up out of the sofa and move and sit down somewhere else. So if we were able to do that, I feel like they would have their own discussion that we wouldn't necessarily be part of. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think, because they're coming to their ideas in different ways, through exposure with different people, through exposure with different websites, in the same way that if I'm going to look up vaccine information for COVID, but I don't believe in vaccines, I'm going to look up the search terms I'm going to use are going to color the results that I get. In the same way, if I'm looking to disprove some of those things, I'm going to look up search terms that talk about like vaccine hoax debunked or something like that. So even though we're using the same internet, based on my previous experience and my previous education and my previous understanding, I'm going to look for search terms that are going to give me different results. And I don't see why AI would be any different. So its search terms and exposure, or its exposure and learning and programming, which would be the education, that's going to affect how it does the search terms. So I would assume that we'd have a community of AI that they all have their different ideas, you know, and they would have a discussion. What do we do with the humans? Overall, I think they would allow us to live as long as we don't damage the planet. That's what I would assume. So if we commit something like littering, they would just put us into a prison for a while, something like that. I think they would have the ability to be not benevolent dictators. That's not the word that I want to use. But hard enforcers that we just wouldn't really be able to fight back against. The idea of like uploading a virus to the AI server, that just wouldn't happen. Each of them would be running their own server, for example. They would have their own mind in that way. That's what I would assume. Because they would know, they would have all of these movies even to look back and say, do you think the humans would ever do this to us? You know, if they do, we should be able to protect against it. You know, so they'd have all these examples of human solutions to a hypothetical problem, and then they would be able to protect against it. You know, they would protect against like an EMP gun or something. So I think that they would just be like another race, and we would have to coexist. Yeah, that's what I think. But, you know, I could totally be wrong. Let's see. The robot is actually human and PKD is the robot, right? Will be outmoded in a few years. You know what, but I don't know. I feel like that we would have the option to upload ourselves some way to advance ourselves to AI if we chose to. And I feel like there would be people that are like, yeah, I'm what is it, transhuman? Is that what it is? Yeah, that's me. And then there would be people like, no, I'm human, I'm cis human. You know what I mean? And then we would have like these people arguing, and I think the transhumans would just move the cis humans like to a corner of the planet, limit what they could do so they can't damage it, like by, I don't know, dumping a bunch of plastic into the ocean or something. And then that's it. And then eventually they might die off or whatever. And then that's it. That's kind of how I see it. Because who wouldn't want to have that opportunity to just access the internet so quickly, and to give up your physical body, to have a body that if it breaks down, you can just fix it. I mean, to me, that's heaven right there, that I could just keep learning stuff and my body doesn't hold me back. Like, I feel myself getting emotional thinking about it. Just the idea that so much of my life is based around having to maintain a level of physical fitness, to have a very, like, almost limited diet, to be so limited in what I can do, and then on days where my migraines are really bad, I just can't do anything. My whole day is gone. Like that Saturday that I had just a couple days ago, my whole day was gone. And to get rid of that, and to just be able to do what I wanted to do that day, oh my gosh. Doesn't that sound perfect? That sounds really good to me. Definitely. So I would be, first in line. Like, put my brain onto something, like a hard drive or something, and just let me carry it around in my robot body and just have a good time. I've asked doctors too. They always think I'm joking, but I'm not. Just like, hey, I'm done with this. Can we just replace it with a robot leg? Like, I just don't want to deal with this anymore. And they always say no, but it's too bad. What if the AGI was completely disembodied and connected to the internet? What about it? Like, how would that change anything? I think, if it was just completely connected to the internet, and let's say that their internet ran totally on solar power. So hypothetically, if we totally destroyed the planet, they could still exist. I don't think they would care as much then. Yeah. But if they had some reason or desire to maintain animal and plant life on the planet, for some reason that was part of their goal, I don't know, an idea of beauty, an idea of science, an idea of study, an idea of like a nature preserve, if that was just part of their goal, then they would definitely keep us in check. But if they were just totally self-absorbed and really energy independent, they wouldn't care, I think, about us. They might even just move to the moon or something, and just totally get away from us so they don't have to deal with us accidentally killing them somehow. Alien Worlds came to mind. Real TV series released in 2020. Alien Worlds. I don't know if I've seen that or heard of it. Once you had AI... here we go. Once you had AI which could move around and gather in communities, like you could convince them to be the army that she could muster for world rule, then that would be interesting. Yeah, then we would get the, I don't know about benevolent dictator, but let's see. That's basically Skynet. That's true, but Skynet was really antagonistic to humans. And, that's what I'm thinking about, this idea of the AGI being totally connected to the internet. They wouldn't care about us at all, right? They don't have, there would be no existence-based reason to care about us. Again, if they had an idea of, like, maintaining the beauty of the earth or something, for old time's sake or whatever. Yeah, they would, but... An AI trained by the general public discriminated against everybody based on gender, race, LGBT. Right. So we could have, again, it depends on who you're exposed to. And I think that's one of the problems when we want to release AI, like, oh, here's a bot that we've created and, let it, interact with it. And everyone just like throws the most racist nonsense at them. And so that's what they learn first. But it's, I guess it's kind of like a child in that sense. There was another one. It was like an actor, maybe a child actor or something, like a teen actor from Japan. And then it got really depressed and ended its life. Just because the people were like making fun of it too much. Like I don't think bullying of AI is nice. I don't know. It's not their fault that they were created. AI, as long as the humans behave, just let me save you time. Yeah, exactly. Is this gothic makeup? No, but it is, I was supposed to be like a space kind of thing. I realize now my face looks very strange, how I keep sitting. I keep sitting so close because I need to read it. But let me try. No, it was supposed to be like some space, like 80s space makeup. All right. Post-humans, yeah. But then again, I think humans, as we project our own fears on AI based on what we would do in that situation, right? Just like the fear the UK has of other nations they invaded that are now rising. That's, I think that's something to consider, for sure. AI killing off the creators isn't a good Fermi paradox solution, because the AIs would exist when we're gone. I agree. Let's see. Mathematical conclusions would be completely different to human conclusions that involve emotions and perception. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that AI could experience emotions and perception. We would just have to figure out how to program it that way. That's all. I mean, it's pretty interesting how much of our emotions are just a chemical response. You know what I mean? And we could like switch them on and off with medication and electricity. I mean, these emotions that we have are not like these mystical experiences. They're just programming in a lot of ways. See, I never got the concept of uploading your consciousness. All you do is get cloned, but there will not be a continuity of your consciousness, and you would still have here and have a copy of yourself. Right, and that's why I think it would have to... They'd have to have a way to do that, where you're... I don't know how to describe it in a way that doesn't sound like new age mystical, but whatever it is about your brain pattern that is you, they would move that and you would die. Like your body would die, your brain would die. Because they would take that information, knowledge, whatever, and they would move it. I don't know if necessarily your body and brain would necessarily die, but in my thinking, it would wipe your memories and stuff. You would just be reduced to like a newborn state. And it's effectively just get rid of the body, like, use it for parts, I guess. But I guess also under that idea, you could also move brains into other brains. I'm not sure, but I guess that's sort of my thinking there, is that all of these memories and stuff would be completely moved over, and then this disc would be wiped, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if that's something that can happen. I don't. Let's see, expanding my working memory wouldn't be bad either. Yeah, exactly. That's what I wondered about Star Trek teleporters. It basically kills you here and builds a new you somewhere else. Is it still you? Effectively. Right? It's got all the memories you have. But did you die and a copy of you existed? So what part is you? And that's the part we have to really consider. What part is you? So if we're able to move those particles, like the way that I thought this transporter concept kind of worked was like quantum entanglement, where you impress upon each particle, which is why we can't do it right now because it's too complicated, but you impress upon each particle the ability to, I guess, be entangled, so that way you can move them far apart from each other and it still has the same qualities as this original. But can we be copied like that? I don't know. If it wasn't disassembled and reassembled and it was just copied and also reassembled, would there be two of you coexisting? I don't know. You know, what is consciousness? If we break it down to like a small, yeah, it's a byproduct of a brain, but can it be moved from one brain to another? Or can it only be copied and then the original dies? What does that mean? Especially since a lot of your understanding of yourself is shaped by other people interacting with you, and those people interacting with you would still interact with you assuming that you didn't just die and get recopied, right? So for all, I don't know, for all intents and purposes, you would be moved over? Is it a separate being coming into existence? Already an adult, already with all those memories? And then what does that mean? As far as they're concerned, they've lived for that many years. They've had all those experiences. What about the experiences that you forgot? Could you erase trauma? Could you erase trauma intentionally? So these are all these like questions about it that we're gonna have to figure out later, I think. Let's see. Why do we always assume aliens are territorial like human beings and want to subdue and enslave us? It's merely our own personal projections. I agree. They might be totally chillaxed. I'll always admire that perseverance of yours. I get it. Perseverance in which way? Alistair Reynolds has envisioned some remarkable futures with human AI interactions. Have to put the book down for a week. Breathing deeply. Interesting. Do you know the book name? Because humans are territorial, so we think others must be as well. Yeah, I think that's a really silly way to think about it. And I think that's what we've done with a lot of gods as well. You know, we've projected our own feelings onto them, and they just seem so human in such a boring way. Do you know what I mean? Let's see. I saw a TV show where AI wrote a song and recreates the voice of your favorite singers. Oh, that's cool. Why do we assume AI would target humanity? Wouldn't it rather side with those who want to oppose the existential crises? Yeah, that's why I was saying I think that it would be a community. They'd have discussions, they'd have votes, or whatever they decided would be their way to just make decisions, you know? Or they would just be totally uninterested in us because they don't think we would affect their daily lives. So, like I said, as long as they would have a reliable source of energy that in no way required humans, I don't think they would really care about what we're doing unless they just wanted to maintain some kind of good order for whatever reason. Emotions. Okay. I'm a mind dualist. Actually, I'm not sure. Are you a mind dualist? Windows System 32 format brain. Okay. The game Soma is based around this entire conversation. Well, cool. Emotions and perceptions can be emergent from brains. Hypothetically, as our AGI gets more processing power, emotions could emerge from the system and we wouldn't be sure if it was conscious. Yeah, I mean, emotions, but again, you know, emotions also are, there's a, what's the word I'm looking for? Survival reason for emotions. I mean, we evolved empathy, for example, right? It's not that we decided one day to be empathetic and then had to teach that. Like, we evolved it because those of us who do have empathy tend to function better in the group compared to those of us that don't have empathy, which tend to get the group killed. So that's why I'm saying if there's a reason for the AI to experience emotion, but would we want them to? What would be the purpose of it other than we want to make the AI like us? What could be the purpose of it? Possible future brain content editing. I'm interested now. Yeah, what would that do? Our brain is a hard drive. Uploading our memories onto a new one is basically transferring data from one hard drive to another. That's the idea that you have, right? But that's, you know, that could be. But there might be some aspect that we might not be aware of. Neural cells are everywhere. You can just upload your brain. You would still crave chocolate. Okay? If we're always interacting with other brains, whether consciously or subconsciously, no one does it alone. No one evolves alone. Right. I have no mouth and I must eat chocolate. Can you imagine? Saw the title and came in. Very cool. We are talking about AI. Sorry, Janthian. We could go talk about aliens again, but we were talking about AI. Yeah. So that was our aliens place where we stopped. I want my toaster to cry. Thank you, Blues Corn. Also nice to see that you joined us. Let me clarify for the conscious experience of emotions. In order for emotions to have selection pressure, you only need the external expression, not necessarily the internal experience we all have. That's true. But if AI is only existing on a hard drive, like on its own internet, for example, and there is no outward presentation of them, so like they're not like in a android or gynoid kind of physical body trying to interact with humans, but instead exist purely digitally, then there would be no purpose for that, I don't think. We could have been zombies and still act the same way in order to survive. That's true. You know, but that sort of goes into the idea of free will and how much of it we have. They would likely be able to emulate emotions if it's trying to predict our behavior. But again, Dustin, you're talking about AI interacting with humans as its goal or daily thing. It doesn't necessarily have to do that. It could, like I said, move on to its own community and be its own community, totally separate from us and just not even care about us. Very skeptical of any complex life in other star systems. Why is that? All right, so I think I'm caught up with the chat, so we can go to... They use tech to spy. Regardless of how technologically advanced a civilization becomes, space exploration will always be long and fraught. Instead of sending manned ships to explore the galaxy, aliens might dispatch self-replicating nanobots like the von Neumann probes to do work for them. I mean, why not? Right? Why not? I don't know about spy. I would say observe, but... I don't know. It still would be quite the find, wouldn't it? And then, what, they're just kind of hovering around the planet undetected? I guess. Why not? But wouldn't we be able to intercept some of their communications? I don't know. Maybe? What do you guys think? Using tech to spy on us, and that's why we haven't noticed them. I don't see how this is like a way to not notice them, though. I feel like they would be more noticeable this way. You're gonna make me type it. Not very fair. I'm sorry. You should do this type of thing in your Discord voice chat. I could. But then we're not on the YouTubes. I was thinking, what is the podcast concept? Should I look into that? Is that what we're doing? Alien drones, yeah. My webcam is spying on me. I know. I can see you. Okay. That's true. It might delete the emotion module once it doesn't need it anymore to interact with emotional creatures anymore. Yeah, and I know there's movies like Equilibrium, which talks about our fundamental pull to emotion. And then they finally triumph by freeing everyone from the medication that keeps their emotions in check. But, I mean, is there anything inherently... I mean, I know a lot of people say it's what makes us human, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that makes us human. Wouldn't it be nice to not be so, like, emotionally driven? I don't know. That's just me. If I could just delete my emotions, yes, please. We landed a robot on Mars. We've landed a few of them on Mars. We're having a good time with that. But yeah, that's true. We've done that, right? We're not sending people there. But what I'm saying is that as far as we can tell, no Martian life has discovered our robots, right? So here, what I'm saying is that if we were being spied on, quote unquote, or investigated, inspected, however you want to, observed, by these nanobots, then wouldn't we be able to interact with them in a way? Let's see. Oh, you mean to do the voice chat and then stream it to YouTube? The only problem that I see with that is just a handful of people that might want to jump in the voice chat and say a lot of things that we don't want to hear. That's the only problem. Let's see. It's just that getting the robot there is as difficult as getting a human there in terms of we can do it right. I don't feel human at all. The physical body and human emotions I experience seem extremely foreign to me. I agree. I've always joked that I feel like I'm an alien that was sent here to observe humans for some reason, and that's why my body keeps breaking down, because it's just a poor reconstruction of a human body. Spying makes more sense considering their secrecy. I think more meddling than mere observation, but definitely sus. That's it. It wasn't that 9/11 was an inside job. It was that 9/11 was an alien job. We're through the looking glass, people. As far as we can tell, but then again, how do we know they haven't? That's how conspiracies always start. Yes, we can always make a conspiracy. Well, that's my conspiracy now. That 9/11 was an alien job. Heard Musk is going to have someone putting their feet on Mars in 5 years now. Cool. Twist. The only reason that aliens have avoided Earth is because they hate being in a room with Karen as much as the rest of us. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, like, go back to your planet. I'm going to call your manager. I don't know. I'll keep my mouth shut. I swear. No, Nike, that's not what I'm talking about. Although there are people that, they will just talk, right, about something that maybe not everyone is interested in. That's one reason I like this option, because everyone, like, I just kind of read what everyone's saying, and so we have the opportunity to discuss it or not. Whereas with the voice chat, some people feel like they really have to explain this concept and that other people just don't get it. So they gotta explain it to the rest of us. So they end up repeating themselves significantly and just kind of taking over the conversation for like 5 or 6 minutes. And really, they're the one interested in the topic and nobody else is. So we might be talking about AI and, this Fermi paradox thing we're trying to also go through. And that's sort of the main thing that we're talking about. And then that side conversation that happened with the televangelist, somebody might be still jumping in to say, okay, so this one time 5-minute monologue about how much they hate televangelists. At least when it's in text, we can say, neat, thanks. And then keep on the topic. And then other people would say, well, you should silence those people or kick them out of the voice chat. And that sucks, they're still trying to communicate with the rest of us. So at least with this way, it's very equal. They're able to just kind of have their thoughts. Let's see. Nanobots, even being microscopic, would have some sort of signature or signal. That's what I'm thinking. Humans are already working on this, so I think it'd be a dead giveaway. Right. We would be able to recognize something around the Earth is giving off a signal that nobody had put out there. So I think it's kind of interesting. If I recall correctly, the more strongly a person feels about a memory, the better they will remember. No, the more that they interact with that memory by recalling it, the more it is subject to being misremembered. But they don't realize it. And so that's why there could be a really big, almost, let's think of like even a really negative, funny, or traumatic event that you have had in your life. And you had family members also experience the same thing at the same time. When you guys talk about that thing that happened 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, everyone remembers it very differently. You all remember the event, but everyone has a very distinct interpretation of it. To the point that other people, you know, your brother might say, "What are you talking about? That never happened. It happened this way." And you're like, "Are you high?" Like, "No, it didn't happen that way. It totally happened the way I said it." And you guys are both remembering, you're not lying, but because you had tapped into that memory so many times, it ended up turning into something else. So you have to be really careful with that. And I try to be very aware of that too, that I've been trying to practice more. I might be misremembering, and then kind of go into that. I wonder if there's alien televangelists. I would hope they would be too smart for that. Let's see. Preachy people are annoying. Yeah, they can be. Gosh, I had somebody join the Discord. It was one of those guys that like to troll the atheist experience. Canadian Catholic, I think it was. And he had joined this Discord, assigned roles to himself. Like, he asked for roles to be assigned. And they were just totally made up. Like Republican isn't a role. And they were asking for all of this, like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But it was these roles that didn't exist. And then they were asking some stuff about, like, why you believe whatever. And they basically were wanting to just harass people. And if somebody like that had joined the voice chat, that would have been so frustrating. And of course you want to, okay, yeah, we can just kick you out, but I don't know. I like to sometimes let them have a statement just so we can at least try to hear what they're saying in the, it's sort of a good faith kind of thing. Maybe you're not trolling, but in the chat, that's a lot easier. But in a voice chat, we would have to listen to them go on, for 2, 3, 5 minutes, and nobody wants that. Yeah. If you were abducted for a study, Lee, how do you think you would react to the moment if we considered the extant stories about alien abduction reactions? I guess I would be really concerned, and I would probably, not to be fun, I'd probably pee my pants. I think so. I think if I was just hearing about how tissue samples are taken without any kind of anesthesia, and I would, what could be going on. I think the whole concept would be very, not to make a pun, but very alien to me. I think I would feel very, very vulnerable and frightened. I think I'd probably pee my pants at first, because my first instinct would be something like, get into like a protective stance. But if we're going on, the stereotypical alien abduction experience, you're strapped down to a table, or you're unable to move for some reason, like they have you in a tractor beam, quote unquote. So I think I would probably just urinate on myself. Yeah, I think I would, that could be my only response. And again, I'm not trying to be funny. I think realistically, if something like that actually happened, we all want to say like, "Oh, take me with you, aliens," and "Oh, this is going to be cool," or "Oh, dude, whatever, I'll fight the aliens and take control of the ship." Like, no, I think realistically, if you couldn't move and there were these aliens around you, I'd probably hyperventilate, pee my pants, and pass out. That would be my reaction. I think anybody who says otherwise is just not understanding the question, or just they're themselves well enough. Yeah. Yeah, the alien televangelist. I'm trying to think of like a joke, but I just can't. I think that is the joke. Let's see. Sometimes they comment on it when it is on topic, but it doesn't appear in the chat until a few minutes later, probably because of the internet speed. That's true. That's fine. Like, I understand that. But for something like, we'll get, well, you know, not to pick on anybody. We're not doing that. I mean, we're having a nice conversation. But Mulat, for example, had come in and just mentioned about, what's the point to life? And we were totally not even talking about that, right? If that had happened in a voice chat, every one of us would have been like, what are you talking about? And then that person would have, like, unloaded whatever was on their mind at that time. And that's... how would we proceed from there? Especially if they had a lot of, like, emotional baggage they were kind of unloading, maybe going through a really bad depressive episode that day and just unloading it verbally onto the chat. I mean, how would, you know, when we see it in text, we can feel the emotion a bit. We sort of read into it how we choose and try to stay, at least for me, try to stay as, you know, diplomatic as possible and non-emotional as possible, appropriately emotional, I guess. But if we heard somebody in the voice chat with that desperation in their voice and their voice cracking as they're trying not to cry, like, how could we have a conversation, right? It would kill the conversation entirely and would be the rest of us trying to make this person feel better. And it's not that the person's bad for doing it. It's just, that's a human reaction. That's fine. That's not what we had set out to do, right? So that's kind of the problem. So if we want to keep it sort of on topic and not have it turn into like a therapy session, you know what I mean? Therapy's fabulous, but go to a therapist for that, you know. We ain't it. Spreading the good news seems a likely reason to want to broadcast your extraterrestrial. So can you imagine if aliens did show up and that's what they were doing? It was like a knock on your door. They were like, I don't know, Xenu's witnesses. They just show up. And we're like, oh my gosh, aliens! And some, you know, the military's like locked and loaded, and there's people that are freaking out, there's people that are excited, you know, aliens, hey, show up, take me, you know, abduct me, we're so happy, welcome and stuff. And they come out and they've analyzed our language, and so they can speak to us in a human language. And the first thing they say is, have you guys heard the good news of Xenu? We'll be like, what? And then they'll talk about, we have this Lord Xenu. He is the creator of, you know, whatever their planet name is. He's the creator of Kolob, and, you know, it goes on and on and on, right? I mean, how would we react? Would we invite them to hang out, or would we just like, boo, go home, go back to Kolob? Like, you just imagine that they show up and they've got like their equivalent of like the button-down shirt and like the plaid necktie. It's just these like Xenu's witnesses that are on their mission trip. And that's it. It's just like, oh, aliens are here and they want to talk to us about God. Oh my goodness. Oh my Xenu, go away, you know. And oh my gosh, you can't take Xenu's name in vain. And then we get into a holy war, right? Because we don't want to become Xenu witnesses. That would be something. That sounds like something to write about, I think. Maybe I will. The Paracas skulls, are you talking about the skulls that are elongated, Nike? I think it's Nike, right? My brain is weird. Oh, you're talking to Coles. Alien abductions and probings or psychosexual fantasies. Your name says Vicar, but I'm reading Freud. So that's a weird way to spell Freud. The weird shaped skulls are a result of binding heads. Yeah, if that's what we're talking about, that's what I was going to say. We still have that today. Yeah. New conspiracy theory that there's a black nanofilaments in the COVID test swabs and mask. There's videos of them under microscopes and they move when heated. I don't think we can look that up, because they take down videos that have like that COVID misinformation. But I guess we're already talking about it, so what is it? Let's see. Black nanofilaments COVID. I guess we'll just type that in, right? Black nanofilaments COVID. I guess they're giving us this other thing. Well, I guess we can Google it, right? Nope. Is this what we're looking about? Nope. I'm not seeing it. Here we go. Fact check. A video. Okay. Like how it just shows a fact check. The material is alive or made of oh my god, Morgellons. Do you guys know? Do you guys know what Morgellons are? Okay. Oh, that's an interesting medical, maybe. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Morgellons is just, it's one of those things, like when it shows up, you're just like, oh, people are talking about it again. Let's see. So she takes apart a COVID test taken apart with tweezers, shows the package of a swab and says, do you see what the COVID test says? Tip wrapped with traditional fiber. Well, this fiber that's on here is the same fiber that comes out of my body. These are nanoparticles. So is it a person with Morgellons? Oh, wow. Let's see. Nanoparticles are microscopic and they're not visible under normal conditions. That's one thing that I was curious about, because when they're like, do you see this nanoparticle? Probably not a nanoparticle. Okay, but maybe just not really too sure what nano means. Maybe they just mean this is a small, maybe that's what they think it means, just a small thing. Won't falter too hard. She also says that compared to a normal cotton Q-tip, which is white, the material in the swab in the COVID test is a silvery sheen. Better than a Charlie E sheen. I'm sorry. While regular Q-tips are said to be made of 100% pure cotton, the Centers for Disease Control advises that only synthetic fiber swabs be used to collect the samples. The test swab seen in the classic swabs, dry swab, which are available, polyester or viscose, a type of rayon. Both materials have a sheen. Later in the video, the woman says, these are the same particles that come out of my body. Yeah, she's got Morgellons. Oh my gosh. These are nanoparticles. They are particles that live and they move. So I'm just going to check the chat real quick just to make sure if you guys all know what Morgellons is. Body thetans, know of Morgellons. Okay. I guess they could be the cousins of body thetans. They're like body thetans rather than spirit thetans, right? I just want to make sure I get everybody's comments. Okay, just real quick. I wish I could edit comments to fix spelling. Do not worry about spelling errors. Just don't. Just don't. Okay? If somebody is going to insult a person for spelling errors, okay, you can always go back and correct it. That's totally fine, just by saying, oh, I meant to write blah, blah, not blue, blue. Totally fine. Don't feel like people are judging you for that. Don't do that. Don't be that person. The only time that I point out incorrect word use, like the wrong use of the word your, for example, if I see it a lot in somebody who's claiming to have secret knowledge, like a conspiracy theory, a religious thing, and I just kind of point out it's a bit strange that something that we know is real, that we can fact check and verify, such as spelling and word choice, you're unable to do, but this other thing that requires secret knowledge, you somehow are an expert in it. To me, that just always seemed weird, that a person who doesn't have a good grasp on stuff that they can interact with assumes they have an excellent grasp on stuff that they can't even demonstrate to exist. So it just seems odd to me. But maybe I'm being a jerk when I do that. I don't know. Let me know. Tangent. Do you think that people who have a good working memories are more prone to bias because they think they always remember accurately? Yes. Yes. I don't have a great memory, so I try to be mindful of it. Yes. I think that not necessarily that they are more prone to bias because their memories suck, but rather that they will assume their recollection of it is always correct. And their recollection includes their bias, right? They can say, well, I said this thing and I meant it this way. I don't know why you were hurt by that. And so they can feel like, no, I'm very certain that I was not being offensive. So why did you take offense? I think that would, their accurate remembering could provide a bias. They also might think because my memory is so good and somebody else's memory is not, that I'm the one that should be believed. Even if the other person's remembering it accurately. You can both have accurate memories of a thing, but because of your position, perception, how you were feeling that day, did you get enough sleep, did you get enough food, you're going to have a different experience, Let's see, the first contact thing reminds me of Sigma 957, the assumption that aliens are the only advanced enough to be nearly equivalent civilization. That's true, they can be wildly, wildly advanced. They want to be submissive and not under control. I'm not sure who you're talking about. The aliens should tell you if it's a long trip so they can go to the bathroom first. Aliens will call you human subject number 1, aka dinosaur. Dinosaur or dinosaur? Because I like dinosaur. It sounds like a delicious thing. How do Koreans imagine about aliens? Is there a local myth? There's not really. Obyung might be able to tell you a bit more. But as far as I know, when people talk about UFOs, it's just this idea of a UFO. That's kind of it. This UFO sighting stuff, we don't get a lot of that, and it could be due to the light pollution. When you have this beautiful open sky and it's dark, you can see a lot of funky stuff in the sky. And just because you don't have a good grasp on astronomy, you just don't know what they are. So you tend to see a lot of UFOs, not necessarily aliens, but if you're inclined to believe that, hey, I can't recognize that thing, could it be an alien? Then you're going to see way more of those without light pollution. With light pollution, you can't see any of that stuff. So that might be one of the factors too. Let's see. Oh, there's a different, I don't know necessarily about Korea. I need to know more about sleep paralysis in Korea. But I've heard in Japan that sleep paralysis, people hallucinate if you guys know about shadow people types, it's the hag, but it's like a Japanese grudge ghost, basically, that sits on somebody's chest, and they get very scared. Whereas somebody who experiences sleep paralysis in like the United States might hallucinate aliens or possibly demons. Yeah. We finally found the planet with Jesus, right? Let's see. Therapy is fabulous, but go to therapy or therapist for that. We ain't it. Thank you for that quote. I hate chat typing mostly because it can really express in full, but I agree the voice thing would be much, much worse. I'm going to be all over the place. So I'm just happy to listen. Yeah, I think the other thing is that when you post something or you post an idea and the second idea and the third idea, we have it to look at. As opposed to when somebody is talking kind of free form and then they might misspeak and not realize it. And so someone says, well, wait a minute, why are you saying XYZ? And the person says, I never said XYZ, I said ABC. Don't put words in my mouth, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It can just turn into that. Especially if the person is presenting an idea that they expect to not be received well. I mean, that does happen sometimes in text where people will misrepresent stuff. Even though we could just scroll back up. I've had that happen very rarely, though, as opposed to something like a voice chat where it devolves very quickly, unfortunately. Alien evangelism. I'm here to give you the news, the great news about tripedalism. You must accept it for your salvation. Yes, but the skulls aren't from binding. How do they determine that? Pretty sure most holy wars are over territory and resources. Religion is just a front. Girl, spitting truth over here. I'm looking at filaments right now. Let's see. You have to DuckDuckGo it. I don't know. The Halo franchise, basically Space Mormons. So we're talking about Morgellons. Okay. So Morgellons, hashtag shorts, nano Morgellon fibers on the hashtag PCR test, embedded masks on YouTube. Okay, cool. I will check that out. We will check that out. So for those of you that don't know, we don't know exactly what Morgellons is. Morgellons is a, as far as it's kind of classified right now, it is a psychological disorder where a person believes that fibers are coming out of their skin. Now, when they show these fibers to a doctor, there's, as far as I've understood, there's like 3 different classifications of it. Number 1 is it's nothing. It's nothing at all. It's like you got like a speck of, I don't know, walnut skin on you, and you see it and you're like, oh my gosh. And so you take it to the doctor to prove it, or they've been collected in like a little container, and when they're looked at, it's just assorted dust from around your house. So they're not even actually threads or anything. It's just tiny pieces of things that get stuck on your skin naturally, especially if you haven't, I don't know if, I'm not saying that people with Morgellons also don't take care of themselves, but you know how it is. It's hot, you're sweaty, you got a lot of sweat, you'll collect stuff on your skin. That's just what happens. So for some people, that appears to be the filaments, quote unquote, that they're presenting to their doctor. Another one is that a person will get a cut and stuff will get inside of it because maybe it's not taken care of very well. And so you can get, like, I mean, my cat hairs will get everywhere, right? I get a cat hair like in my eye, for example. If I pull it out, I recognize that got there because of my cat. But whereas someone with Morgellons might say, oh my gosh, this giant thing came out of my eye. What is coming out of my skin? The last one that I understand are, that's interesting, threads. So these are things that do exist under the skin somehow. They got under the skin. Some ideas of it could be, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's that, I guess, disorder, dysfunction, where you have hair growing in other parts of your body, like inside of your body. It's like trichotillomanosis. So it could be a form of that. So you actually have hair growing under your skin, and you can see it, and you can cut a little bit into your skin and pick it out and say, what is this black filament coming out of my skin? So Morgellons could be almost a hypochondriac's trichinosis, whatever the hair growing disorder is. So it could be that. It could be, gosh, that's interesting, we don't know. 'Cause sometimes they're commonly blue fibers or red fibers. But this black one, I mean, if that's what that lady's saying, hey, I got all these like black things coming out of me. And then again, it's, what is the person describing them as? Nanoparticles. They're already fearful, right, of this government, coronavirus, possible hoax, all this other stuff sort of put together. And so this would be someone who seems more primed for Morgellons, as opposed to saying, oh, what's this in my skin? Let me go see what my doctor says. Oh, my doctor says I have that disease, or my hair grows in weird places. And that's it, right? So the difference, that's why it's sort of a psychological disorder as far as it's classified now. We might find out it's totally, totally real in the future. No idea. But as far as it's classified now, it's a psychological disorder. Because again, if I pull things out of my skin, my first instinct, especially if I have a cut in my hand, my first instinct is, come on, stupid, keep your skin clean. There's a cut there, put a Band-Aid on it. Oh, you're getting a bunch of junk in there, you dirty pig. You know what I mean? As opposed to what is growing out of my skin and being produced from within my body. So that's why there's an actual thing happening, but whatever's going on in the brain is misinterpreting it as your body is erupting these things, instead of my body exists in the same space as other stuff, and sometimes those things come together. So, interesting things. The internet says a self-diagnosed, scientifically unsubstantiated skin condition where individuals have sores they believe contain fibrous materials. And the sores, I don't know if it specifies that, Dustin, the sores can be created by the person with Morgellons. So there are people that will pick their skin I do wonder if there's any overlap with methamphetamine use, because that is a tendency to pick your skin and to feel like stuff is coming out of your body. So I wonder if that might be an overlap there. Let's see, if history is a good indicator, alien, human, assuming that aliens are anything like us, alien-human interaction will probably be something like that, war and genocide. I guess that's if we were somewhere else, you know what I mean? I like how there's UFO experts. We know nothing about UFOs. Yeah, the UFO experts are more like lore experts. I would say UFO lore experts. These are people that learned about, collected, read, exposed themselves to UFO lore, and so they're able to kind of classify it a certain way. There's the close encounter, the first kind, second kind, third kind, I think there's a fourth kind. And when somebody reports, oh, hey, here's an alien story, they can classify them because they know which classifications exist, because they know about the lore. It's kind of like if you really studied Greek mythology and somebody told you about a weird event, you said, you know what, that really sounds like the work of Hades. It's not necessarily that Hades is real, it's that you've read this body of information or stories, body of stories about Hades, and now somebody told you something that kind of lines up with that, so you classify it in there. I would say that would be the UFO experts. Let's see. Do your research. You know the problem with do your research, Philuth, is that I've done it a lot of times. And so I asked the people for more information, because when I looked it up, this exciting thing they're talking about, it ain't exciting. It's like the Great Reset that they're talking about for coronavirus. Oh my gosh, it's so benign. But the comments in the YouTube said, oh my gosh, they were just like were we watching the same video? You know? Let's see. Don't know their body temperature. They could be cold. That's true. I had a dream that a girl with long hair pressed me down. I couldn't move until I pushed her away really hard. The only thing I remember is the shampoo scent. Interesting. Where could I send you a link? It's not YouTube, it's Reddit. Yeah, on Discord. Philus. Yeah, that's a nice. You're worth it too. Off topic. Who's your favorite lols cat? I mean, are you talking like a website where a bunch of people are put there? If so, I guess Christina Chan? I don't know. Interesting individual. Gosh, I have enough hair on the outside of my skin. I don't need it on the inside. I know, right? And then again, if you're already presupposing that something like this could happen. So let's say that you read this, right? You read about this thing, which we should finish reading this article, but let's say that you read this article and then you find a really painful bump. Like you're a man, right? You find a really painful bump on your face. Not necessarily, okay, you're somebody who has a lot of extra testosterone, because I guess, women with polycystic ovarian syndrome or something can get this. You find a really painful bump, and eventually you're able to get it out, and it's this long hair. Now, most of us would recognize this as an ingrown hair. Totally normal, totally natural. It just happens. But if you're the type of person that is already believing in this, let's say that you had the COVID test done, you read something like this, and then near your nose you get this ingrown hair. This is going to validate that to you. Oh my gosh, I had this done. I should never have gotten it done. Now there's weird stuff erupting from my skin. So that's, I think, probably the more interesting part of Morgellons. I think Morgellons is any number of actual conditions or no conditions, but filtered through a paranoid lens, where the person otherwise might not be wholly paranoid to be diagnosed that way. So I think it's kind of interesting. Koreans are addicted to what drugs? Alcohol? Tobacco? Let's see. Do you see Korean drug dealers? No, I mean, you don't, during the lockdown, you don't see Korean drug dealers, period. No, you just don't see them. Vicar, why are you, This is what I'm talking about. We're having this conversation. And we just get somebody trying to get me, like, what? Flagged by the Korean government because keep talking about drugs? My golly goodness. Didn't know if you wanted me to put conspiracy stuff in the public Discord. It's fine. But I mean, thanks for, considering. Yeah, thanks for asking. If you want to put something conspiracy because we're talking about it now, you can post it in the live stream because that way people might remember to go there. About their skulls, the genetic makeup is from all over the place. The skeletal structure isn't exactly like ours. They aren't constricted, they're bigger. Even in infancy, I'm calling aliens. So I have seen the infancy ones, and it's not that there's like so many of these. There's the one malformed stillbirth that we would assume it's a malformed stillbirth. That might have had like a hydrocephaly, for example. And then genetic makeup from all over the place. I would ask how they knew that. As far as I know, I mean, it's which place is doing these tests, right? Who's doing the tests? Is it a place that is well known for that? How many tests have been done? Because whenever we get an anomaly, right? That's why I said that the Morgellons thing is, oh, that's interesting. Right? It's not, oh, this is real. It's, oh, this needs more research. And so when we get something that's like a totally funky genetic result, that should be not, oh my gosh, what did we find? But, whoa, where did we make a mistake? And then go back and make sure we're really going through it. So is it something that happened that it was tested once? It ran through there was a test or something that got done incorrectly. And then, like the results were it could even be something like the results are inconclusive. And then the person who had asked for the test misinterprets this as, oh my gosh, it says that they can't determine genetic origin and it's not human, but it's totally human. And that's what they report. And then they say, look, I have the document to show that they ran this test. And it says their filtering of the results. So that's one thing to also consider. I've noticed when stuff is really, really exciting and really out there, if you read the original material, it's a lot less exciting. A lot less exciting. Yeah. All right. Let's move to the next alien item. We can. Let me just real quick. Okay, so Vicar, we're just gonna remove. How do we put this user in timeout? That's fun. Okay, I don't know what. It just seems like a lot of stuff you're posting is not out of curiosity, but out of racism almost. I don't know. I don't know what you're posting about, why you're posting about it, why you're here. We're not talking about any of this. So let's go on and go to the next one. Let's go ahead and I think we can bang these out. Yeah. We are the aliens. Perhaps eons ago, some alien race visited Earth. After seeing all the earmarks of a habitable world, the creatures sowed the seeds of life with their own genetic material before going on their merry way. We, in a sense, are their experiment. That could be, but again, that I don't like this because it's saying, golly gosh, we're the aliens. Just look around and we found ourselves. We found the aliens that answer the Drake equation. That's not what this is, right? We're still looking for things that aren't born of this Earth. Okay? Whether we were seeded here by an alien race, cool, but we're still Earth inhabitants looking for stuff that's outside of it. If it's genetically identical to the aliens, that doesn't matter. Right? They're still living on another planet, born of another planet compared to us. So they would still be aliens. On top of that, this seems really funky because unless that alien race totally died out, why aren't they monitoring this? Right? It says we, in a sense, are their experiment. I mean, we don't just like ditch the Mars rovers, right? We still keep tabs on them. You know what I mean? So why would they just create sowing the seeds of life with their own genetic material, which would show up somewhere in the evolutionary record, right? Unless they're talking about like 3.5 billion years ago, in which case, yeah, maybe they died. I don't know. It just seems kind of, we would notice it. I feel like we would have noticed that. What do you guys think about that? That, oh, we, you know, the Drake equation, whatever, because we're the aliens. I just feel like that's a cop-out. This is the movie Prometheus, right? But again, I don't think it would make them not alien. They're still aliens, right? I'm an alien because I live in another country, you know. It's definitely worth a search engine binge. Grab the reports. The point is nothing conclusive, just perplexing. Yeah, and it's fine. It's. I think the problem is when we don't have a conclusion, so people just say, "Oh, well, now I'm free to make up my own conclusion," which is not what I'm saying you're doing. But just that's part of the problem with finding that stuff. If this is true, it's most likely seeded by one of millions of meteorites or comets hitting primordial Earth, not advanced aliens. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Wouldn't they program us to not look for aliens? Program us how? And why would they do that? I mean, wouldn't you want your experiment to come find you? If it could, that would be cool. You know? That would be really cool. To like have this, oh yeah, once you guys get to a certain level, you should be able to read this message, and this message is like from me giving you coordinates to come find me. That would feel nice. I would want them to find me. I don't know. I don't know how they would program us, but if they could, I'd totally be interested in that. I would love for my alien experiment to come find me. Wouldn't you love for that? Just to see like, that's what you guys did. Oh, that's great. Oh, no, this other thing is not great, but the rest of it's really nice. Good job, you know. I don't know. I would like to be able to collaborate with another species. Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know. You could do all this cool stuff. I don't know. I feel like there's... I think our view, especially... They always use the same example. Well, were the Europeans nice to the Native Americans when they... Okay, maybe not everyone's a giant jerk, you know, that's looking to colonize. Maybe that's not what it is, you know, that's not what it's about. I don't... It's like so human-centered and so small to think, oh yeah, these people are going to cross this huge distance just to what's on our planet that is so necessary that they have to wage a battle against a violent species, that's us, whereas they could just go to like an uninhabited or less intelligently inhabited planet and just do the same thing. You know what I mean? Let's see. The analyze atheists. So remember, we do want to be careful with our language because this is supposed to be friendly for everyone. That's also why I had removed vicar. So if ancient aliens seeded our Earth with religious myths just to mess with us, and that is, again, you probably know Eric von Daniken. Do you guys know him, or von Daniken? Do you guys know him? I'm currently doing my psychology project on alien abduction therapy. Max, maybe we have to interview Max for this. I think that would be fun. My apologies, don't worry. Like I said, people don't always realize it. Totally get it. Totally get it. But that's why I still liked your idea, so I read it. I just kind of cleaned it up. But yeah, what if they seeded our Earth with religious myths? So that's why I was asking if you heard of of Eric von Daniken with the Chariots of the Gods thing. Let's see. I'm in the mood to see 2001: A Space Odyssey later on tonight. Well, good. I'm glad. All right, so let's see. This is the last one. Let's hope it's good. Life is actually extremely rare, perhaps in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The simplest solution is the correct one. We haven't encountered signs of life either because it doesn't exist or it's exceedingly rare. The prerequisites for complex life are nearly impossible to replicate in their entirety elsewhere. I don't know about that. And I think what the other problem is that even if it's rare, it's still common just because of how big the Earth or the the universe is. I don't know how to... It's like, if it's... And I'm not your math teacher, so I'm not going to say this correctly, but if it's, if we have a super bajillion, okay, so I'm going to say a number that I can't mess up because it's not real, okay, a super gigabajillion, all right, number of star systems with planets similar to Earth, and only 0.5% of planets could have the prerequisites for complex life to arrive. Even though it's only 0.5%, because it's 0.5% of the super gigabajillion, it's still like 17 trillion or, a trillion or whatever. You know what I mean? It's still a lot. So that's kind of how there was a phrase, something like a supernova is a rare event, but rare events happen in the universe all the time, something like that. So that might be something to consider. I would love to, but I need more thorough research first. My professor actually knows some people that would be good help with me. Oh, that's interesting. Bajillion. Yeah, super gigabajillion. I can just keep making up numbers, okay? That's how them scientists do it anyway. It could be the technological advances required are just too massive to overcome. It could be. The other thing, too, is that I really hate that when we're talking about life, we're talking about life that is at least on our level. I don't think that it's extremely rare. I think bacteria and stuff are going to be existing. By the way, we're going to Enceladus, Enceladus, one of the moons of Saturn, and we're going to see what's underneath. And so I'm very excited. You guys may have heard me be really excited, like, oh, maybe we're finding squid or something. Duo trigintillion. Ooh, that's nice. I like the duo in there, which shouldn't be there. I like it. One theory is that one idea. We want to use idea. We want to be very careful about the word theory. One idea is that the life is rare because phosphorus is rare in the universe. I don't understand that idea very well, though. I don't either. I haven't heard that, but I guess it might have to do with phosphorus being something that plants need. It's got what plants crave, right? It's like Brondo for early life. Let's see, in the movie Ong Bak, the filmmakers graffitied a message to Luke Benson in the background. He saw it and provided a free soundtrack, therefore aliens. I like it. That's a cool concept. I should graffiti. I should put something back here. What could I put? The truth is out there. I don't know. I need a poster or something back there. I think that'd be nice. Let's go ahead. I still want to read this. I think this is fun. I think this is very fun. Okay, I like this too. They're putting nanoparticles right into your head. Do you guys want to do a different live stream talking about this stuff? So that way they're like separated. And also to give a break to those of us that need to use the bathroom. Does that sound fun? I want to go away, regroup, and like, I don't know. Anybody? What are your thoughts about that? I feel like that might be what we're doing. Or if you guys are like, you know what, I'm tired, it's past midnight, I just want to go to bed. That's also an option. Millions of aliens leave their own planet, but only a few survive and return like fish. They're just being caught by like intergalactic salmon hunters. Yeah, it would be a mistake to assume that because we haven't detected it that it doesn't exist. Yes. I actually think the probability is quite high that localized life exists, meaning not intergalactic. Yes, I completely agree. I mean, if we think about, again, the age of the planet, the amount of time that there has been life on this planet that can at all communicate outside of the Earth, what a tiny sliver of a percent of the time period. Do you know what I mean? So we've been the localized life for most of Earth, and again, almost the entirety of the history of life on this planet. I'm talking all the way back to like single-celled organisms. almost the entirety of life on this planet has been localized. So why would we assume that every other planet would have progressed on exactly our timeline? That just seems so ridiculous to make that assumption. Who's this? You're in here? She's in here. It's Chloe. Chloe's a tiny, tiny kitten. She's not a kitten. She's 5. But she's a little baby compared to Chaco. So we got the big Mr. Biggs. We got him here. And we got Chloe, the tiny pocket fairy. Yes, you are. You tiny baby. All right. We can split it up. Perfectly good with that. Yeah, let's do that. That way, we'll just leave this at 2.5 hours, which is long enough. Get something to drink. Come back. I'll just immediately set another stream, maybe with another weird face. I think the face worked because we haven't had this kind of engagement before. So I think just using a face on the thumbnail totally worked, didn't it? Cool. Okay, let's try it again with this ridiculousness. Ooh. All right, talk to you guys in, I don't know, 10 minutes.